Hi, ladies. How are you? I'm Leila Thomasone, your dating, marriage, and relationship mentor. So, welcome. Good to see you. If you're unfamiliar, if you're new here, thank you so much for joining. And please make sure you subscribe. I have an email list, of course. I would love to have you on it so we can keep in touch with all the new events and programs and new videos that I do. So thank you for joining me. Say hi. Say hi if you're watching live. Today I wanted to talk about, so happy girls night, happy hump day. It's Wednesday. I'm playing musical desks in my home here, and we had rain all day, so it's kind of it's definitely a hump day, right? So I'm just really glad to be here with you. Hi, Marcia. Oh, thanks for joining me. Yeah, so I hope you have a fun little drink or dessert or something, or maybe you're in the bath watching. But let's have some girl time and have some fun. I just had my dessert for this week is heavy whipped cream that I just like whip fresh and put with some berries. Oh my gosh, so divine. And then after this, I'm going to be watching Survivor with my husband, one of my favorite things, my favorite show. So, yeah, so the week is looking up, even with the rain and the cold and the quarantine, we'll make it through, right? Right, ladies? So anyway, tonight I wanted to talk about a very girly, ladylike topic, is a feminine topic, I guess you would say, is the rules of ladylike behavior. If you know me, anything about me, that I help women with dating, and I help women who want to get married and have a great relationship, a wonderful marriage. Sorry, I'm messing with my hair. It's like opposite in the, I can't tell which way I'm like flipping my hair. But anyway, so yeah, so I get a lot of questions about like what the correct rules of dating are, right? And I do prescribe and recommend lots of rules. But then there's like the rules, right? So I get a lot of questions of like, is that really important? Should I follow the rules? Like, is that a good strategy for dating and for finding a spouse? And what good are rules anyway? Like, we kind of had this rebellious spirit, right? A lot of us were, at least I was, for sure, like, you're not going to tell me what I have to do or I can't do or I should do. And in my mind, I was always going to be the exception to the rule, right? I was always going to prove the rule wrong. And actually, the exception proves the rule. Isn't that the saying? That if you meet someone, and there's a movie, this reminds me of He's Just Not That Into You. Have you seen that movie? Where the point of the movie is that when you're like dating and like something happens, like, oh, he's talking to another girl, or like, oh, he didn't call after 3 days after the date or whatever, you think it could still work out, or like, what if like we're long distance, or like all these different like scenarios that the girl would pose to her girlfriends, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I knew a girl that happened to, and they're still married, and they have a great relationship and stuff. And so what they would be telling her was an exception to the rule of like, don't chase the guy, right? And then if she chases him, then she wants to know about a story of a woman that chased the guy and got the guy and everything worked out fine, or like one of those scenarios. And so when they would talk about a scenario that a friend of a friend knew that they're still married or whatever, it's like they're talking about an exception to the rule. And if there's an exception, then that means there's a rule and there's a reason for it, right? And in my mind, my immature, like teenage mind, growing up and hearing these rules and this advice, like how to be a lady, how to, get a guy to chase you, or like what were the rules of dating and things like that. that I was just so stubborn. I was so headstrong and bullheaded, and I was just gonna prove them wrong, and I was gonna do everything opposite of the rules, and somehow that was supposed to work out for me. Well, I can tell you it did not work out for me. I did do everything against the rules, and it was horrible, and it did not work. And so I want to give you my perspective. So, I did discover some rules of dating, and this doesn't just apply to dating. It could be like, we can also talk about like posture and etiquette, like how are you supposed to behave in a restaurant, like how do you make conversation with a man, different things like that, like party etiquette, gifting etiquette, like there's tons of rules, right? And our moms and our grandmas and our aunts and our big sisters tried to teach us what all of them were. And at least for me, I didn't have a big sister, but I had, older cousins or aunts or grandma. And always, I never wanted to listen to them, right? So, but specifically about dating, that when my first marriage failed and I had a horrible divorce and I tried again to have relationships that broke the rules and did not involve me being treated like a princess or me being pursued the way that you should be pursued as a woman, right? That those relationships failed too. And the one that worked was my marriage to my husband, my courtship with him. I very much wanted to follow the rules. I tried really, really hard to follow the rules. And I don't mean the rules, like the book, the rules. I mean the rules that are sort of based in tradition and like evolution, even like biology, like the hunter-gatherer thing, like the men are the hunters, and that's why they're so driven to pursue you. Like it's in their biology to slay the dragon to win the princess, right? So that's the kind of rules that I mean. Like they're passed down from generation to generation because, for reasons. Like we don't always know the reasons, but they're there. And I, me just being know-it-all self in my younger years, wanted to deny any of that mattered or existed. And it did not work out well for me. Now to go into a little further detail. So with my courtship with my husband Derek, who I remarried a couple of almost 2 years ago. And he's the love of my life. He's my soulmate. He's amazing. And our courtship was amazing. And it was a fairy tale. And it was exactly what I had dreamt of when I was a little girl. When I was a little girl, like not Disney princess programmed little girl. Like little girl, like just didn't know any better to not dream about it, right? Maybe you know what I mean. Maybe you don't. But anyway, it was wonderful. And so the rules that I followed, I very much tried really hard to lean back, let him lead, to not bombard him with questions, not interrupt him, not show off, to not pay. Although I did offer, because that's kind of our new modern rule, is to offer. But if a man did want me to pay, then I was not going to see him again. So that was another rule, right? And not to initiate conversations, not to be too quick responding. And there's some more extreme rules, like don't answer the phone, don't ever call back, like some things like that, which, how is that ever supposed to work out? So there's definitely different variations on the rules, but I also broke some of them. Some of them, when you have the right combination, when you have the right elements of attraction and polarity and commitment, then sometimes you're going to break some rules because you know what? Derek didn't know the rules. Like he knew some tradition for sure because that's what his parents taught him. That's just, that's just what he knew, but that's not to say he knew all the rules. Like guys don't, that's not really how it works for guys, right? There's the pickup artist rules. There's the rules that the guys use to get the women in bed. There's those. But like a normal guy, a good guy who isn't playing games, he doesn't know rules, you know. He knows that he's attracted to you. He knows that he wants to hear your voice and loves to be around you. Those are the things that he knows, not that he's like supposed to do certain things. And so it's like more internally driven, right? And so this is the way I think about the rules when people ask me, is that, like I said, I think they have a huge purpose. And like I said, not just for dating, not just for marriage, but for anything. Like if you're learning art, if you're learning fashion, if you're learning, what else? What's something else? Writing, like any kind of craft or skill like that, you have to learn the rules before you break them, right? Like you have to have that structure there. So this is how I think of it. I think of it as their guardrails, that they are absolutely so important when you're flailing about, when your steering wheel is broken, when your brake pedal is broken. Those rules are there to save you. They are super, super important. And thank goodness, right? So when we're super young, when we have no experience, when we've done everything wrong and made all the mistakes and we have all the baggage, like they're super important and super helpful. And so I'm very, very glad to have the rules there. But then once you're very, very comfortable with them, with the rules, once you have some experience and some practice with the rules, then that's when your steering wheel's working right, when your brake pedal's working right, then the guardrails are still there for safety, but you're not running into them. You're not actually like, you're not needing them in that sense of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, so rules like not to sleep with the man until you've got a commitment, right? That's a big one. That's a huge one. And so things like that, you really can't skimp on. And it's so going back to like how we want to rebel and we want to not be told what to do. And that's why we think rules are bad. But that's why I'm saying that they do work for a reason. They are a thing for a reason, like to a great degree, to keep us safe, to protect our hearts, to protect our value, and the fact that we are sensitive creatures. We don't want to be heartbroken a million times before we find the right man. So that's a really, really important benefit of having these rules and following these rules. But that doesn't mean that you're always going to do everything perfectly according to them if you've kind of gotten your feet wet and you've kind of gotten some practice to where you know how to keep yourself safe, right? If your boundaries are really strong, if your boundaries are really healthy, then that's when you're like not even going to notice the rules as much, the guardrails, right? You're not going to run into them, but they're actually like built in now because you've practiced it, because you've gotten this experience in using them and feeling how it feels to protect your heart and to lean back and to be, guard your value and to feel like a princess and to be treated right. Is that making sense? So, yeah, so that's how I see the rules of like dating specifically. And also, etiquette is a way to to express our ladylike behavior and to be extra girly and feminine is to follow etiquette rules and posture rules. Like, how are you supposed to sit? Like, how are you supposed to cross your legs and look as good as you possibly can in your pictures and in your, outfits, what earrings go with which sweater, like accessorizing, there's rules with those too, right? So, so I'm actually teaching quite a few really exciting programs that help to get to know and be ingrained in these rules that are there to help us and how to feel feminine and ladylike and act feminine and ladylike and get used, get the practice in to the point where it just feels natural and it just feels normal and it feels good and we get treated right and everything. So so I would love to share any of that you are interested in, that you feel called to. I'm going to be having our Empress Etiquette Soiree in a couple of weeks. The date as of right now is May 16th. So I will put a link to that in the comments. So if you want to check that out, I'm also happy to have, so this is going to be a full day immersion. It's going to be so much fun, all about posture and etiquette. I myself, for my credentials and what I've learned along these lines is I've been working on my posture for years. Actually, about 5 years ago, when I first started working on it, I think it was much longer. I think it may have been more like 8 or 9 years ago that I picked back up after, in high school, I was a cheerleader and I was a pageant winner. I was in a pageant in Florida that I won. And so I had all this practice with good posture and etiquette and being feminine and ladylike and setting a good example for younger girls, that kind of thing. But then, 8, 9 years ago, after my first marriage dissolved and I had been, just so depressed and really not feeling ladylike, really not feeling feminine, just the frumpy new mom, not bought clothes in years kind of situation, that when I did start working on my posture again, I actually gained a 1/2 inch of height. And so I've been working really hard on it. It's kind of a pride of mine that I've learned, and I've had to go through physical therapy for different injuries, back injuries, and things like that. So I know what's involved in all the musculature and the anatomy to rebuild and to have proper alignment so that you're strong enough in all this, the different areas that you need to be, your core strength, glute strength. I had run Spartan races a couple of years ago. I got really, really, really into shape. And, like marathon distance, well, not marathon, maybe half marathon distances, like up and down mountains and doing obstacles and all that. So, I am actually a bar certified instructor as well. If you know what bar is, it's sort of a combination between Pilates and ballet. And so there's a lot of alignment and physiology and a lot of the same work that you do in physical therapy when you're trying to rebuild someone's posture and like their alignment and balance and strengthening all the weaknesses and that kind of thing. So, so that is some of my credentials in etiquette and posture, and I would love to teach that. So let me know if you're interested in that, and I'm very happy to meet with anybody who has any questions or interest in any of the programs. And I'm putting that link in the comments as well. Marcia has a comment. She said, I feel like if you love and respect yourself and know the rules, you can definitely break a few. Yes, exactly. Right. Like when I met my husband and we were courting and there were a few that I broke, I was telling the story to, and I'm teaching this to women. So I'm like, I don't want to tell them like to break the rules that I'm teaching them. Right. But I was talking to a friend and her husband, and it's like, you got to remember that when you got the good result, it's like, oh, I want to break rules just exactly the way you did, right? Like, it's like you definitely did something right to succeed and have the happy, healthy marriage and result that you were going for. So yeah, no one's perfect. No one's like the same. Like we're not all the same. Whatever is called feminine and whatever is called masculine, we all have a mixture of both, and we all have our strengths and weaknesses. So every couple is going to be different, and the way you navigate and negotiate your masculine and feminine roles is going to be different. Okay, so like I said, they're guardrails. They're not there to like twist your arm and make you go somewhere you don't want to go. It's just to help sort of keep you safe and have the wisdom of history and tradition and biology on your side so that you are headed down a safe path, if that makes sense, I hope. So that is sort of the beginning of what I wanted to talk about with ladylike behavior. I can do more videos on this topic, and I would love to. Like I said, I'm having the Empress Etiquette soiree in a couple of weeks. May 16th is what it's set for. And so walking, posture, sitting, breathing, like all that stuff, like it seems crazy. It sounds crazy that you would have to learn how to do these things, but I have, like, it just honestly, that was what was required when you're getting injured and you don't feel like you're standing up straight, and you're why can't I suck my stomach in? Like, why do I feel like lumpy and bumpy where I shouldn't? Like things like that. So, and doing exercises, like you have to be really careful that you're breathing properly and bracing properly so you don't get hurt. So anyway, can't wait to teach that. And then the other program that just started is Awaken the Fire in Your Prince, and I will link that as well. Again, if you're interested in any of these programs, I'm happy to have a free chat with you and answer any questions that you might have. And all those links are in the comments. But yeah, so Awaken the Fire in Your Prince is the other program that just started, and super exciting. That's all about polarity and how to be the ladylike, light up his life, magnetic force that draws the masculine and all of romance and the juicy love and passion. So that's super fun. And under that umbrella is Advanced Divine Polarity. So that just started, as well as Awaken Your King, which is for married women. And that is so fun, really rejuvenating and rebuilding marriages to be what you had dreamt of marriage being, instead of the ho-hum, the routine, the logistical, never having a date night, never having that juicy fun and up-leveling that you had dreamt of. So that's what we're doing in Awaken Your King. And if you're interested in any of those, let's sit down for a chat. I would love to discuss that with you and answer any questions that you have. So again, thank you so much for joining me, whether you're new or returning. If you know me well, thank you so much for sticking around. And let me know what you want to see more of. Give me some comments, likes, shares, subscribes, and I will see you again next time. Bye, ladies. Bye-bye. Been fun.